some of my I did get blood checks, and some of them were out of the normal range. It was, my doctor told me, you're not dying yet, but you know, it's not a healthy thing to keep doing this.
You're not dying.
Yeah, you're not dying. You know, it's not perfect, but your body's under stress. Well, this is your profession and you're earning good money. So my advice to you is do this and get in and get out. Don't do it for too long.
At what point did you start experiencing with steroids and additional drugs?
Before my first competition, because I knew the guys I was competing against were using steroids. So I'm like, this is, you know, this is part of the game, right? And if you're going to compete without steroids, you're going to be at a great disadvantage. Not impossible, maybe, if you're genetically much more gifted than the other guys. Well, actually, my first competition wasn't with the federation. It was a local competition, Mr. Birmingham, and I won that while I was natural. And the guy that placed second and third, I knew them, so I knew they were using steroids, and I was still able to beat them. And I dieted for like a week.
Natural.
Yeah, and natural. But when I went to the federation and I knew it was a different standard, then I started about 12 weeks before the competition.
Would you start off? What was the first experience?
So little to what people use now, but still it was dramatic because it was the first time I ever touched anything. First thing I ever took was Dynabol.
Okay.
20 milligrams a day of Dynabol. I took that for 6 weeks, and then I switched over to one Primobolan shot a week and a little bit of Anabol, like 15 milligrams or something. That's kind of like bikini girls use that now. And I was in pretty good shape. I dieted for like 7 weeks or something.
When did you really, because even when you went against Lee Haney, when you got on stage and you look at you look good.
Yeah.
You look like this guy can win, but you took it to a whole different level. So at what point did you kind of take your game up and experience with different things?
Well, the next level, I was just using steroids up to that point. So the next level was growth hormone, which was very expensive and not that available. But now I got second in the Mr. Olympia. So now I got income and I got contacts, and I decided, let's try the growth hormone. I'm sure that my competitors are already using it, or some of them. So I started with that, and that like enabled me to go to another level over the next few years.
What was the reaction you would get? Was there different things when you took this, you felt like this? You know, had the whole thing with temper, acne, was there anything you're like, but when I use this, I got to be careful because my fuse gets shorter. When I use this, I feel like I can take over the world. When I use this.
Yeah, I had that aggression, but most of the time it didn't spill out because I used most of it in the gym. And I wasn't in a lot of situations where it could be triggered. Like a lot of guys at the gym, they used to work security at the nightclubs and so on. I did that very early on, but when I started competing and then I got the gym, I didn't need to do that, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I was not going, I was not going out to bars or nightclubs where somebody might piss you off, or So I kept myself kind of a bit isolated, and I did feel aggression, but it was like a controlled aggression that I could use for the workouts. As far as side effects, water retention, acne, some of my I did get blood checks, and some of them were out of the normal range. It was, my doctor told me, you're not dying yet, but it's not a healthy thing to keep doing this.
You're not dying.
Yeah, you're not dying. It's not perfect, but your body's under stress. Well, this is your profession and you're earning good money. So my advice to you is do this and get in and get out. Don't do it for too long.
How long did you stay at the peak of experiencing with steroids?
Basically my Mr. Olympia reign, which was 6 years. I think my intake while I was an amateur was really kind of moderate. But then I got second in the Mr. Olympia. What if I can go another level? That's now it's worth any potential risks, maybe.
What is the level of usage then versus today for somebody that's competing?
Yeah, today is much more.
Is it twice as much, 50%
2 or 3
more?
times as much.
2 or 3 times more.
2 or 3 times as much, yeah.
So if you're competing in today's times with what's accessible today, how would you have been the same size, or is there a limit to your size, or would you have to be even bigger than that?
Well, I think, there's a point where it's beneficial, up to a bell curve, and then it's not. And I think possibly one of the reasons where the guys are not getting into shape now, or having trouble getting into shape, is because they're using a lot of stuff, and it's hard. They don't show the details and the separation. They have the volume, but they don't have the details and the separation, and I'm not sure exactly what that is, because I'm not really au fait with everything that everyone's like using now. Mm-hmm. I do help some people and I do train them, and everyone that comes to train with me is surprised, because they think Dorian Yates, he's the guy, you know, the growth hormone guy, the steroid, the insulin, he's so fucking big, he must have been using 10 times more than everybody else. You know, we're all using pretty much the same thing. The thing that was different was my approach and my training. That's the difference.
Were you guys all talking about what you're using, or no?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
So everybody's pretty open about it.
Yeah, I mean, most of the guys we're using, I use a growth hormone a day when we're competing. We're all like talking, and you know, that was pretty much an average, it seemed. So I'm, you know, pretty much new. Now people use, people that don't even compete using a lot of steroids. Well, back then it was mostly people that competed. There'll be a few guys in the gym that take a little stuff because, you know, whatever, they wanted to look big, but the majority of people were competing, and a lot of people wanted to compete then. Now you go to the gym and look how many people want to compete in the gym, there will be nobody, or one guy maybe. Then it's like all the guys in my gym, they all wanted to compete. That was the thing, everyone wanted to do it. It was like the peak of interest, which has now declined. And
would the 18-year-old today, Dorian Yates, have gone the same route with all these different options?
Wow, good question. Probably, but could Dorian Yates be the shadow now, in this day and age, where the industry is like very much on social media?
Yeah.
So it would be hard, because people use social media now to promote themselves, to promote their business, to make an income. In my day, you needed to compete, and you needed to be successful on a high level in order to get yourself in a magazine, which gives you exposure, gives you publicity, and then you get income.
When you see somebody, can you pretty much say somebody's on using something or not?
I can't say 100%.
Okay.
But I could have my suspicions, especially if they change quite quickly. I've seen a lot of fighters that I'm like, all right, you know, you just put on like 10, 15 pounds of muscle in the last year. That's no way you're doing that without using something. And there's money here, man. People, you know, we're talking about high-level sports, highly driven people. They're not going to miss anything that's going to help them, man. So if they can do it and they can get away with it, mostly they're doing it. Yeah.
Mostly they're doing it.
Yeah.
What do you look for? Do you look for jaw? Do you look for vascularity? Do you look for sudden size increase?
If somebody makes a big increase over a year, then that's a telltale sign, because some people can be muscular, naturally muscular anyway. Some people have done well in bodybuilding being natural. I mean, Ronnie Coleman, I believe, who was 8 times Mr. Olympia after me, I believe he got as high as World Championship, maybe even competing in Mr. Olympia by being natural.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe so. If you look at his physique when he's in the Mr. Olympia in 1992, when I won the first one, compared to when he was winning, it's huge.
But for you, when you think about bodybuilding, who are your Mount Rushmore? Who do you put up there as the greatest bodybuilders of all time? Put yourself out there. Who would you say are the top 5 in your eyes?
Sergio.
Olivia.
Yeah, Sergio, Olivia. They're just people that stand out to be like, wow, this is Mr. Olympia at the time. I mean, it's like something from another planet at that time, the late 60s, right? Amazing.
Sergio Olivia had the famous pose, you know, the whole...
Yeah, very few people can do that with their arms overhead pose.
Make it look good. Yeah. Make it look good. He could do that and you couldn't believe it.
Sergio Olivia, Arnold, Lee Haney, Ronnie Coleman, and myself. And Sergio Olivia had uniformly long muscle bellies on like everywhere in his body. It's probably the most genetically gifted
what would you say
bodybuilder ever.
He was the most genetically gifted?
I would think so, yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful thing to say right there.
I mean, Ronnie was very gifted, but I would say Sergio was probably had the best genetics, and look what the guy looked like in the late 60s.